Hey guys and welcome. Today I wanted to go over the entire storyline for Battlefield 2042's Hazard Zone. Now this goes into detail around the Exodus story that we had a couple of months ago now. Coming up to Hazard Zone with some more details that we've got now, it's starting to make much more sense as to the reason why and what we'll be doing in this story. So I wanted to go over this again in this video and give you guys some more information, up-to-date information about the storyline in Hazard Zone and what you're expected to essentially be doing in Hazard Zone. So this goes into detail with how Hazard Zone will potentially work and the objectives that we're going to be looking at and trying to go for when playing the mode. Now this will be a fairly long video, but in the description down below there will be timestamps which you can skip to if you want to go and skip to different parts of the video. However, the storyline itself will be in one big timestamp and will go from the very first to the very last occurrence and everything that we know so far about Journey of the Nopads and of course what's going to be happening in Hazard Zone. It goes into detail around some of the specialists that we're going to encounter as well during Battlefield, so if you're interested in that, then this is the video for you. But guys, I hope you do enjoy today's video. It took quite a while to make this video, so I really would appreciate it if you guys dropped a like on today's video and subscribe if you're brand new around here to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest Battlefield 2042 content. If you guys want to be kept in the scoop with all the latest Battlefield content, be sure to ring that notification bell down below to be notified whenever a video does go live. But guys, hope you do enjoy today. Let's get into it. September the 12th, 2041, Doha, Qatar. It all began with Kayvan Bashir surfing the dark web one night at home, at a time where Qatar had a strong population and was thriving in the world. As a journalist, he was trying to find a contact within the Nopads to obtain further information from them and around their alliances and their motives, potentially setting up further interviews to document their side of the story. However, at 3:28 AM that morning, he received a direct message that would catch his eye more than usual. This was a direct message from a person that goes by the name of Oz, claiming to be the most wanted man alive at the time. He ranked as the commander of the largest contingent of Nopad forces that were currently operating across the globe. With Oz being the most wanted man alive, people are tracking him for details for his location, his whereabouts at all times. Once the conversation ended, Kayvan needed to pack his entire life into a bag and flee the country, as Qatari police were on their way to arrest him after finding out that he was in contact with Oz. He would have been sanctioned by the government for helping a terrorist. Kayvan fled his apartment as the police broke down his door in search of him. Using the recent sandstorm as cover, hiding from the armoured vehicles patrolling looking for him, he noticed within the LED lights on the skyscrapers an unmistakable sign, the Nopad emblem. He began to spot this on multiple skyscrapers, essentially leaving breadcrumbs and leading him to an escape route. The breadcrumbs ending up leading Kayvan to an abandoned football stadium in Doha, where he was greeted with a military man who looked in his late 50s, who points directly at a tunnel. Now this tunnel was guarded by a sentry turret and was Kayvan's only way out of Doha, and his only hope. Kayvan cautiously proceeds into the tunnel. A few months later, November 1st, 2041, Alang, India. 2 months had passed since Kayvan fled Doha. The tunnel he had walked through into Doha led him to a safe house made up of shipping containers in India. There were many different types of Nopads there, such as former intelligence officers, doctors, nightclub bouncers, car mechanics, you name it. All very different people with very different stories. When arriving in India, we met a man named Navin Rayo, who is a specialist and notorious hacker and ex-Marcos officer. He was a people's person and would always make sure to put them before him. The Nopads at this point began to become a hated faction, not fighting for their country, but just for their survival. The governments across the globe did not like this at all, and it was notorious that the Nopads would always ship refugees and different Nopads officers within these shipping containers across different docks across the world, and began searching all of these shipping containers across the globe to essentially try and find these Nopad soldiers and refugees. If they were captured, they'd be treated as smugglers and pirates, which essentially would lead to their death. The only way out of Alang for Navin, Kayvan and the refugees would be by boat. And with Alang being the largest shipping pier in the world, it would be a heist to get one. The team identify a suitable boat and begin to proceed towards it. As they begin to pirate and steal the boat, gunshots began firing from all angles, and somehow Navin manages to captain the boat and sail it out of the city. 25-foot waves crashing into the boat, people thinking, is it going to tip over, whilst having bullets fly directly past their faces. It was becoming extremely intense. By 1:32 AM, the team managed to escape Alang with no casualties and vanish across the Atlantic Ocean. February the 19th, 2042. Brani Island, Singapore. After months of missions, rescuing people, relocating refugees and moving resources, the next mission was a big one. Brani Island. Navin and Kayvan were accompanied by a new team member who knew the island well, Casper Van Dale Grumbles. Casper was a Nopad soldier on the island before they began to be treated by terrorists by the local government. Brandy Island was surrounded by a huge 20-foot wall that surrounded the entire island. This was there to protect the city from its treacherous sea conditions on the other side, making it a safe place for ships to come dock and unload and reload, and then obviously exit to their destination. The team managed to somehow pass through the automated security of the wall. Navin Rayo hacked the automated sentries on the sea wall to prevent them from attacking the boat as it entered into the city. Somehow, the team managed to dock without alarming any of the local authorities in the area. The area is then surveyed by Casper with a recon drone to make sure that they were alone and they weren't being followed by anyone. The team quickly ushered the refugees into a beat-up shipping container in an attempt to evacuate them from the city. However, when the last refugees entering the container, the sirens alarm. From what I can describe, robotic dogs dropped out of the sky in the dozens, rushing towards the boat. The team and the refugees rushed towards the boat and tried to escape, as Navin Rayo attempts to hack the automated distribution system on the island, dropping shipping containers wherever he can to block these robotic dogs and the local authorities from catching them. It wasn't enough. The Singapore local authorities pursue the boat into open waters. An ear-splitting cannon fires out of nowhere. Silence. Moments later, the teams notice a multitude of vessels on the horizon that consists of fishing trawlers, container ships, and tugboats. These were additional NOPAT forces. Singapore local authorities knew this was not a battle they could win, so they turned back and the team escaped. May 8th, 2042. Somewhere in the Yellow Sea. We're introduced to a new character / specialist named McKay in this section. Oz takes I need to know to a whole new level, says McKay in a sarcastic tone, providing the team with a sentence worth of intel, whilst then following up telling them to wait until further orders are given. Haven and the team were floating on the Yellow Sea for 2 whole days with no orders or any word from Oz, not knowing what to do or where to go next. However, at 7:30 AM that morning, the team sat down to watch a local news broadcast in Singapore, where it was reported that an executive assistant of Samsung Electronics escaped with a 10 petabyte of internal data from their headquarters in Songdo, South Korea, on a stolen corporate helicopter. The suspect was reported to be a Korean woman in her 20s, suspected to be working for America or Russia. This data that was captured could provide a faction with a significant tactical advantage if a war does break out. However, the reporters couldn't be more wrong. In the distance, a flaming matte black helicopter headed towards the team and crashed into the Yellow Sea. Shortly later, a woman would be seen parachuting down onto the ship, the woman who stole the data drive. This woman would go by the name of Jisoo Paik, the NOPAT mole that stole the data drive at Oz's request. Jisoo Paik is rushed below deck and secured before any more trouble could break loose. July 9th, 2042, French Guiana. Oz would request the team to dabble in the trading business on open waters, trading fruit with Russia. When trading this fruit, they would make a noticeable clang when the containers hit the floor of the ship. Kaven always asked, why did Russia need us to ferry fruit? These containers were destined for Kourou, so that's where they went. A new operator was also accompanying the team on this trip, named Maria Falk. The team arrived in Kourou a week later for a handoff with the locals, all armed with Russian weapons. During the handoff, one of the containers were opened, and to everyone's surprise, it actually did contain fruit. However, once that fruit was removed, it exposed the cache of Volkov multi-munition rocket launchers. Before anyone could even speak, American forces swarmed the area, guns blazing. Kavan was caught in the crossfire with a bullet in the arm and passed out during the battle. August 14th, 2042. Queen Maud Island, Antarctica. After Kavan was shot in Kourou, he was transported to an oil rig in Antarctica. At this point, it was clear that Russia and America were at each other's throats. Russia cut off the oil supply to the NOPATs completely, and the only way to regain access to this oil would be if the NOPATs pledged an alliance with Russia. Oz was not willing to do this. It's practically a hostage situation, says specialist Konstantin Angel, a new operator, which again we meet and joined the team. Shortly later, the MFS 04 Exodus arrives onto the scene to evacuate those stranded, plentiful armed. It wasn't clear at first that this ship was on the side of the NOPATs, so 2 warning shots were fired by the stranded. The ship then radioed for us to stand down, before firing a warning shot of their own. It was learnt shortly after that this ship carried the NOPAT emblem, and Oz sent his most trusted captain to extract the stranded that were in Russia at the time. A war was brewing, and as they boarded the Exodus, this became more apparent. October 10th, 2042. Off the coast of Sierra Leone. The MFP-04 Exodus is an American-class destroyer, captained by a former US Marine. which we've learnt is Irish in the Exodus short film. Kayvan is looking to dock in the Freetown port, then fly to Cairo and begin his new life. A position with Sunseco Agritech's corporate company, the same company whose pineapples made a clang. Kayvan had enough of living in fear. 13 months of fearing for his life had shot his nerves. He wanted to understand the Nopats, but not die as one. It's clear that the Nopats were a fractured group of people, all with different intentions and motives. Many different sides in the Nopats. Oz wants complete domination, and other captains, as we know with Irish, only wants to fight for what's right for the people. At 6:30 PM, the Freetown port was visible. Only Rayo knew of Kayvan's plans at the time, that he wanted to flee to Cairo. He felt some regret after being with the team for so long, but it was mostly relief. That is until the ship lurches away from the shore and begins to sail north, leaving Freetown port in the distance. Kayvan then sprints up to the bridge for answers. Sure enough, Oz sent new instructions to the team, which they just could not ignore at the time. The captain, Irish, was not happy with these requests. They wanted also to dock in Freetown port, and as he barges past Kayvan, the last thing Kayvan hears before the door slams shut is we have one shot at a new future, and we're going to take it. And then, of course, guys, this is where it leads on to the Exodus short film, where essentially we see that this new mission is to go to London, collect the package from the informant, and then, of course, that's where we meet up with Pekowski. Pekowski then tells us that if we give this coordinates to Oz, we're going to start World War III. The coordinates from this package were actually for a nuclear weapon which was being experimented by the US. This US experimental weapon or satellite is going to drop into Doha in 36 hours time, and if this is captured by Russia, they're going to start a war. Obviously, Oz wants the Nopats to not be forgotten and to be the most dominant force or faction in the world, which is why it's his objective to capture this satellite, take all of the intel from it, and use it against Russia and the Americans. This is where we find out what Oz's motives are. Oz wants world domination. Oz wants to take over the world, become the most powerful faction in the world, and of course we know that people like Irish and other commanders and specialists that are teaming with Irish and that are on our team and that we've spoken about don't want this either. They want what's right for the people, and they want to fight for their survival and not for basically not for a country. This is where we take a turn, and this is where we find out obviously the motives of Oz and his side of what he wants the Nopats to be, and the side and what our specialists and characters we want the Nopats to be about. And again, this is one of the things that Kayvan was set out to find out. Kayvan wanted to report on what the Nopats were like, and it was apparent that after this 13-month-long journey that Kayvan essentially has now seen both sides to the story. The people within the Nopats are not bad at all. The motives of some of the people are just about making sure the people are put first. However, the motives of those higher up, or the motives of the leaders of some of them, such as Oz and maybe a couple of others under Oz, are to completely take over the world. Doing things like dodgy deals with Russia and America. Again, weapons dealing as well. Basically, dodgy deals are the main thing in this as well. And yeah, rescuing refugees and stuff is always cool and always a really good thing to do. And again, that's probably off the back of some of the leaders of them, such as Irish and the other specialists that are on board as well, like Navin Rayo and Constantine and stuff like that. But if it was Oz's choice, Oz does not care about the people. And as we've seen at the end of the short film, if it means that millions of Nopats are going to be caught in the crossfire, that's what it takes for a new world. So yes, guys, the latest part of the story is in Doha, 36 hours after the short film. What happens when this satellite crashes? Do we get there first? Do we beat Oz to the satellite? Do the US or do Russia get to the satellite first? Again, that is where Hazard Zone comes into play. Now, I know this has been a long video, guys, but hear me out right now. So, again, Hazard Zone is going to take place where this satellite crashes, and that's where the story is going to start. So, obviously, within Hazard Zone, we're going to get the information where we spawn into a map. We have to investigate satellites that have crashed, different pieces of intel around the map, and find out clues as to where the story is going to go. Okay. Again, this is also things where we've got to take out AI soldiers, which again could be Russians, they could be Nopats under Oz, they could also be Americans that are trying to get this, retrieve their own weapon. Also, other players are going to be spawning into this as well, which we're going to have to take out and try and find this intel for ourselves. Again, this will probably be the first map in here. So Doha may very well be the very first map that we get for this, because obviously that's where the story is going to start. After this, then maybe we'll get another couple of maps as to where the story will go after that. So maybe when we get the intel for the satellite, find out obviously what's going to happen next in the story, then potentially we could then get a different map with a different part of the story, and then a different part, and then keep adding things to it. I'm thinking that's maybe how it's going to go. Again, don't quote me, I don't know anything about that. This is just speculation at this point. But again, the story is going to take place literally straight after this short film in Doha. That's where we're going to have to get the first bit of information, and then after that, of course, we're probably going to be scattered across all the different maps in Battlefield, obtaining these different bits of information, trying to take out the AI and player PvP soldiers and things like that, and just, yeah, have a lot of fun on it. I'm really, really excited, guys, for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, Hazard Zone is going to be so good this year. Let me know what you think down below. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching all the way into the video. Comment down below Battlefield hype if you've made it this far. I mean, that'd be just so sick if you have. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed today's video, guys. Drop a like if you have, and subscribe if you guys are brand new. That'd be much appreciated. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one.